Alrighty then. Welcome to the intro to Nullsec for Bravespace. I've started recording, so this is going to be on YouTube. That's great. In this class, I'm going to teach everyone here, hopefully, the proper guide to surviving and thriving in null space. That way you don't get caught off guard, you know what's going on, you can join fleets, and generally have a fun time, which is the whole purpose of Brave, because we like to be classy and we also like to have fun. So here's the start of the class. Just starting off, do you guys have any opening questions?
Do you need to travel to where you are right now?
No, for this one you don't have to. It'd be nice, but as it is right now, since Intro to Nullsec, a lot of it's going to be your user interface, and I'm not streaming this one. Mostly it's just follow along on your own computer. If at all possible, have the Intro to Nullsec on the Brave Wiki open at the same time. But if not, I'm going to talk you through the whole thing, and it's going to be pretty easy. Any other questions?
It looks like we are waiting for one more person from Slack.
Alrighty. Well, if they're not coming around here, did they say they were coming back on Mumble, or?
Well, I have no idea, to be honest.
Alrighty. Alrighty then. Well, we're going to keep pressing on.
He's not connected.
Oh, okay. Bummer. Well, then, smaller class, more fun for us. Let's begin then. The first and I think one of the most important things is to look at your user interface and to make sure that you have the local chat overlap, which if you look over there, if you have the page open for the Intro to Nullsec, is a simple little trick that we do. What happens is local chat is a wonderful little thing where you can chat to the local constellation that you are currently in. Well, I should say local solar system that you're in. One of the wonderful things about local is that it doesn't matter if your ship is cloaked, it doesn't matter if it's on the far side of the sun or a moon, or it doesn't matter what. As long as it's in the system, your name will appear on there. And the great thing about that is once you have hopefully your user interface set up with all the wonderful colors, it means if you say a gray or neutral or an orange or red that is a hostile character, then you know that there's somebody in there that's probably going to make your day unpleasant, or at the very least, I should say, the very least, they're not supposed to be there. They're lost. And so a great thing to do is if you have your chat open, you'll see hopefully local, corporation, alliance, and Bravespace. Then you'll just wander over and you're going to pull it out so that it's next to your corporation chat. Unfortunately, I can't really show this to you guys, but what I'll try to talk you through is just every single step. So first, click and drag your local chat.
Do you have a fleet so I can post the screenshot in?
Oh yeah, then I'm going to post the whole video here. But at this point, it's just, yeah, you can't see it because I'm not streaming. You just need to just drag it. That's all it is. You understand? So just click on the local tab and just pull it off of the rest of the chat windows, and so it's its own separate chat window. Next, what I want you to do is go over to the channel settings, and under channel settings you want to click on a couple options. Here I'm going to click them now. The first one is under, well actually it's under member list. You'll see the little people there, and under member list settings you're going to click the two buttons. First is show member list, and the next is show compact member list. And showing the compact member list means that you don't get everyone's pretty little face. The positive is once you have your interface set up with all the wonderful little colors, then you're going to see whether or not someone's blue, green, neutral, which is gray, or yellow, orange, or red. And if they're blue and green, then they're either part of their alliance or they're a friend of it. So if, for instance, Test or someone else was come down here, they're going to be green. We're fine with them. They're friends. They're not going to attack us. If someone was, for instance, Goon Swarm or something like that, they'd be either orange or red. And they're not here to have fun with us. They're here to cause a lot of problems. After that, you can also make the text as big or small as you want. That's all depending on your screen resolution. I've got a fairly large screen, so I make mine 12-point font. And this is the tricky bit, is you want to align it with your old text box, your old chat window, but you don't want to form it up again. So click not on where it says the local, not the box itself, but just click somewhere on the top of the window and align it so that the names and the little boxes with the stars, the little colors tell you whether or not they're a friendly person or they're an unhappy person with no life, are lined up just behind the other box. Then you just switch over to the other chat window and make sure that it's behind it. And if you're successful, you'll see just the little green and blue boxes and their names. And this is just really good for you to have it set up like that. If you want to, yes, Adrian Atun, I believe he posted a picture of it. Again, you can look in the wiki, will have a picture of it too, so that's just to make sure you got that idea there. Next, what we're going to get into is the Intel channels. Have you guys gotten used to using the Intel channels yet?
No, what is that?
Alright, well, what we have is part of using Eve is that the Eve in-game map is horrible. It's absolutely wretched. They decided to do with a partly 3D model, and that makes things really complicated. I mean, I understand space is 3D and stuff, but yeah, it wasn't very fun. But unfortunately, that means that we have to use other maps, and the Intel channel is 2 of them that we have right now. Since Brave controls, or is at least in 2 spaces, we're in 2 little regions, we're in Catch and we're in Impass. There's 2 Intel channels in-game. The name of them is int Catch and int Impass, and I'm put the name down here real quick. Oops. And what you do is you just click join. Oh, Adrian did that. Thank you very much, sir. Join those channels, and those are the ones that you want to keep open when you're in game. And what they do is they call out based on the message of the day, which I probably shouldn't post, but and they have a format on there, and that format is pretty simple. You'll just say the system, so for instance PZMA, the name of the pilot, so say also bad guy, you'll say put in Carl and Perkins. The ship, if you see it, if you do see the ship, and that's being the ship type, not its name. I don't need to hear, oh no, Scooty Puff Jr.'s in here. No, we're fine, we don't need that. But if we say, oh, Carlson, PZMA, which is really bad for an impasse, and it says, and he's got an Avatar Titan, then people would rightly freak out, and we would form the standing fleet that's an impasse would come down, or at least form up and hopefully whoop their butt and get them to run away. This is really important when you're doing any sort of crabbing activities. And those activities, for just in case you didn't know the lexicon there, the lingo, crabbing just means anything that's done in-game to make money. So mining, hunting rats, hunting NPCs, trading, anything of that nature that someone wants to ruin your day with by blowing up your ship. So those Intel channels make it so that you are aware that someone's in there if you didn't notice their name, and that the fleet, the standing fleet, is also aware of them. This is particularly useful if you are a miner and all of a sudden a dozen ships capital ships pop in to Impass through a wormhole that they've just decided to open, or it decided to open on its own. And they decided, hey, we can find miners. We can use the D-scan. We can ruin their day, which is true because mining ships are not that beefy and they will go boom, boom real quick. And having that information and having something pop up on Intel saying, oh, there's 12 ships in your current system, that's really bad. The other thing to do, okay, yeah, there's some more. There's some more, and it does depend if you're working with somebody else there too. So those are the main Intel channels. The other one is intelmap.xyz. And that is, you do have to have core permissions to be able to use that. And I'm pretty sure they don't want me to show that, or they may want it. But what that happens, with that map is that it's got an alarm, and it's got somehow connected to the Intel channels. And I can go in there and select just this constellation, just this solar system. And someone says something like, oh, PCMA, so-and-so person, no, NV, no visual, and then, plus 12, so there's 12 other ships too, so 13 neutral ships are in this area. Then it will have an alarm that will go off. And that's the one thing that you use in your browser. So you'll hear that alarm in case you didn't see the Intel channel, you didn't see them gray on the local chat. You've also got an alarm, which can be annoying, which is why I toggle off the unknown button when you go onto that web page, because unknown just means if they put anything in there, it'll go wah wah and make its own little sound that you can change in the interface that you really, really want to change. And it'll keep you apprised of the situation. This is one of the most useful things because anytime you lose a ship, you could have known about it if you knew there was someone there. This is especially important if you're down in Impasse where we don't expect there to be people. And all you have to do to save your ship is dock at a friendly space station. They're all on timers. They're all, it takes at most the least amount of time. I think it takes like half an hour, not even half an hour, probably 45 minutes to blow up one of our stations. And if that happens, they're supposed to even get transferred over anyway. So unlikely it's going to happen anyways, because I don't remember the last time we lost a player-owned station. But if it did, you would have lost it anyway. So you see neutral, dock. You see neutral mentioned on Impasse, dock. You have your web page open. You have the Intel map. It's selected for this current system. Someone said someone's in here. The alarm goes off. You hear it. You go and dock. It's just really good to keep that. Oh, go ahead.
Or fight, yeah.
I mean, you can fight if you're in the standing fleet, and that's something else entirely. That's forming up fleets, being in the standing fleet, and talking to them. Then yeah, you very well can. One thing about the standing fleet is, I mean, you can fight with a teeny little Atron if you want to. That's fine, but it's always good to have a little bit of cash. A little bit of cash to keep you going there, and a little bit to get you started to afford all that. Because even just the low skill point, that meaning, something that's just needed to fly even the Atron, that's at least like 8 or 9 days of skill training. And EVE Online is a long-term game plan, so be prepared to put in those skill points and spend that money. But yeah, standing fleet, they generally have a pretty decent thing, and they'll teach you about, hey, someone's down here, let's go fight them, yeah, and you can do that. That's up to you. But if not, if you're like me, I have my drone boat that I got right here, and I'll show it off on the webpage here. This is not built to fight other people. This is to build NPCs who are dumb. Real people, normal people, they would smash to bits with a ship a class size lower easily. And that's just how it is. Or if you're in a mining ship, you have no weapons at all. You've just got mining tools. Again, you'd get smashed. You need to dock up. So that's the wonderful thing about Intel channels. Okay, any questions? Awesome. No. The next part, we just actually updated this too. Jump gates, jump bridges, and jump fatigue. Okay, if you've been looking it up in EVE University, or even on some of our web pages, the wiki pages, you will have noticed something in there talking about jump bridges and jump fatigue and not talking about jump gates. I just fixed this, so if you have it, you can look in there. I put a little picture in there and showing my little funds as I have them. And what they do is it talks about jump gates, jump bridges, and jump fatigue. What happens is normally you get around EVE Online by going through the regular system-to-system jump bridges, or well, jump gates, however you want to call them, system gates. But what they do have now is two things that you can use. One is a jump bridge, which are made by usually capital ships or larger, Titans, and that's a quick shortcut to go through from system to system. Those are all about cynocellular beacons, using atmosphere, O2, and it's a bunch of other fun stuff that you would do if you're on fleet and all of a sudden a big goon swarm came down to Impass and they're targeting our miners, or another really, really expensive ship like a Rorqual, which is a very, very, very expensive mining ship, gets tackled and it needs help. Then they would form up, they would jump into the system, they wouldn't even go through the gates because they might be gates spawning on the gate and it's just waiting there. And of course they'll have a field up that will stop us from doing anything, so we'll just jump in through there. Now jump bridges, as I said, they're made by other ships. Little ships can use them and they can allow you to pop around the universe. The bad thing about that is instead of having to make 2, 3, 4, 5 jumps, you make that one jump bridge, you make that one jump, is you have jump fatigue. And that means that it takes longer to jump again. Or when you get too full, you just can't make a jump. That makes it pretty difficult. It is bad. So it has the benefits of being able to use it now, but you can't use it after you use it so many times. This is particularly useful knowledge for any of the guys who have jump freighters, because they're like, oh, I don't have to go towards that system gate, so I don't get blown up by people who are sitting on the camping on the gate there. But you'll have to wait out every so many systems that you've jumped. Jump gates, or Ansiblix gates, which is a new thing that they've come out with, and I'm going to undock and show you what they are. Ansiblix gates are a new mechanism, new part of the game, well, relatively new I'll say, and what they are is they allow you, the player, to jump all around the map without having to go from gate to gate to gate to gate to gate. So for instance, I'm going to pull up my map here. You can too. It's F10, I believe is the normal hotkey. There is a gate here from PZMA E, PZMA TAC E, that's how it is, all the way to 68 foot TAC 6. Now normally I would have to jump 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jumps through the system gates. But because I have this little Ansiblix gate, I just go through that one end gate and boom, I'm in 68 foot. The only downside to this is nothing. There's no downside. Is this that, no, for real, we do have to pay for the toll for it because it requires liquid ozone. Now, if you have yours set up here, and I'll pull up the tab here, it will be under the friendly tab and it will say Ansiblix gate. And I'm just going to warp the fleet there. So if any of you are here, oh, Hadrian, so he's there, yay. And they usually are within about 100, 200 kilometers or so of a keep star, so that in case they get targeted, reinforcements are just inbound. And the only thing that you need to know about these is that other than capital ships and larger, they don't mind you using them. I've heard that they don't prefer that you use them. Yeah, there's lots of gates. There's a whole bunch of them. If I look at it, there's like 1, 2, 3 gates from here to GE Sota, and that's the gate there. And they are 3 gates that make that trip a lot easier to go from Ketch to Impass. Yeah, I warped the fleet there simply because we can look at it. There's no one in here. I've got my intel channel open. I don't hear anything. So you
Yeah,
guys can look at it.
just saying it for Urban as he is in GE and not in PDMA.
Yeah, I'm just saying there's all of them there. We've got loads of these Ansiblix gates everywhere, and it's easy because a lot of people, such as myself, we go from GE to PZMA because those PZMA is now pretty much that's the head place here down in Impass. Fairly much, depends on what you're doing. And GE, especially GE SOTA, is the head place for catch. Now again, this all depends on what you're doing, and people say other things, but I call it the head place because that's where the marketplace is at, and that's where everybody's buying and selling stuff. So call it what you will. But the one thing is, other than ship size, which they you can ask them for sure, but I don't think anyone else here has capitals. I don't even have capital, so that's a fun fact. They don't want you to use capitals on here because they use way too much liquid ozone, but there is one thing which you want to do is set up the automatic fee payment. If you open up your wallet, oh, I showed people how much I'm making money. What a shame. Go over to the tab that says automatic pay settings. That's all the way at the right. And it says activate jump gate, and it will have one ISK. And you just click the box that says X. Make sure you have it under there for just one ISK, and that's it. Now, just so we are clear, in case you didn't read it, one ISK is what you pay per, I believe, liquid ozone. So what you pay is all dependent on how big of a ship you have. As such, if I'm trying to jump through with my pod, it's like 61 ISK. If I'm trying to jump through with my, what's this, battlecruiser I have right here, it's like 500 or 600 ISK, so that's not much. If I was trying to jump through with like a capital, which I shouldn't be doing, but I'm like, hey, let's ruin somebody's day. But if I did, I'm sure it would be in the thousands easy. And that's not really trouble because we're paying for it, and that pay is to stop people from going in there all the time, so you don't get the message like, do you want to pay so-and-so to jump through here? Of course you do. It's 61 is. Who doesn't? And it also keeps it so that the people who are doing the upkeep on these, who for this gate, let me check it out, is the POS boys, player and station boys. That's part of Brave. They have the money that helps pay for the upkeep and buying of the liquid ozone, so everyone can jump around and we can all have fun. Do you guys have any questions?
Can you say again where's this? Can you say again where this the automatic payment?
Come again?
You said there is a way to set the auto payment for the toll. Where is that?
Oh yeah, just go to your wallet. Go to the tab all the way on the right that says automatic pay settings.
Yeah, got it.
Put in one ISK, that's all that you need to pay for, and then click X so that it has an X under the activate jump gate. And that should be it. After that, it will automatically do it. Do note, though, if you go to somewhere else, even within a larger alliance or somewhere else other than Brave, go over to test, they may be charging 2 or 3 ISK for theirs. So if they do that, then that means you're paying more than 1 ISK per size of your ship, cubic meter, whatever you want to call it. And as such, it will prompt you for every time you want to jump through there. This, when you have that activated, you just pay for it. It just, oh, hey, 61 ISK. I can afford it. Oh, 500 ISK. Not a problem. Does that answer your question?
Yep, and I just jumped.
Yeah, it's super simple. You just use it like you would use any of the system gates. You just go over there, jump, boom. It just acts like it. The wonderful thing is, you get a skip anywhere between 3 to 6 or even more areas because they're all dependent on how many light years away they need to connect. And it, as I mentioned, Eve's horrible map, but it may be horrible to look at and navigate, but because of it, a system which may be 6 jumps away is actually only 3 light years away, so it's easy to get back to it. Okay, let's see here. I don't think we have to anything. Oh, yes. The next one that we're going to do is autopilot. As it says under the wiki, never under any circumstances ever use autopilot. That's just it. Don't ever use autopilot. Doesn't matter if you're in Nullsec, doesn't matter if you're in out of Nullsec. Just don't use autopilot. Autopilot is something that's going to ruin your day. Don't use it. There's no way to use it that's going to make you happy. The next is the Instadock and Undock browsers, bookmarks. Browsers. Nope, it's bookmarks. And I'm going to get a little bit easier than that, which is when you can either do two ways. And when you dock up to some place, there are two ways to do this. Sorry? Okay. There are two ways. One is as soon as you undock, so I'm going to warp the fleet to the station, and we're going to make it a little instant dock place. Instant dock bookmark. Oh yeah, Urban. Yeah, I'm down in PCMA. Yeah. I'm going to warp the fleet over here. Now, normally, if I were just to do the super simple, easy way of going about it, is that I would, because I'm a fun guy, I could just click docked with the station. And even when I warp to it, you can look at the map and it'll say, you're a couple meters from it, you're so-and-so meters from it, you're 0 meters from it. And what happens is there's a little circle that goes around each of the player-owned stations, really any of the player-owned structures, that says you're so many meters from it. And you can actually get an extra couple, really I think an extra couple kilometers inwards from there to get close to the station. And what you want to do is you want to have an Instadock that is warped to it and you're not slowly crossing over the finish line. You're just right there. And it's pretty much all you have to do is fly a little bit more inwards. So you can just follow me if you want to in my ship. I just double click towards the station, and you can, if you want to, use the tactical overlay to see exactly where your heading is. You click that and you will see that it'll give you a nice little map and it looks all pretty and it says, oh, here's my tactical overlay. Go away, Fleet Finder. Here's my tactical overlay. I'm heading a little bit towards the station and you can see the outline around the station. If you look up, you'll see all these little lights around the keep star in our case. And as you can see, we have quite a distance to go. But the closer you are to that keep star, or at least within the radius of the keep star, is saying that you are within the anchor point, the tether point I should say, and that means that you are safe, except for when it's not safe. And you don't have to worry about anything, you don't have to figure out what's going to happen here, it's just boom, hey, you're safe. And so I'm going to drop a bookmark here, and do that. It's just, I think, Control D, I think that's it. No, you can do it through the bookmark page, which I'll have to do. And just under bookmark, if you don't have the things, you just put add location, and it will say spot in PZMA solar system, and you can just say, for instance, I'll label mine. I'll say Instadock for Keepstar.
Is this part relevant for our uses with tethers?
Come again?
Is this part relevant for our uses with tethers?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's part of the thing there, and they want you to know it, and generally I'll put it this way. The really important thing for these is, there we go. The really important thing about instant docks is to make sure that you're not vulnerable, that you don't get stuck out there, because when you do warp to a place, you are usually a couple hundred meters out. And the problem is, given enough time, and it doesn't take enough, if you're not in a beefy ship, you won't warp to a place. And that's the important thing more than anything else, more than instant docks, more than undocks, and so forth is that you want to know where you can warp to. And that's what I'm going to go over now for the next part. And hold on one sec. The tactical bookmarks. I definitely know I can't pull that up while I'm looking on YouTube. The tactical bookmarks are, if you look around, and if you set up your overlay here, you're going to see a couple spaces that will be north or south or whatnot of a station. These are especially so for the system gates. So I'm going to warp us over to one of the system gates, and hopefully they've set up one of the tacks. God willing.
Wait a second, I'm almost with page.
Come again?
I'm jumping to PZMA, just give me a sec.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm warping them over, so again, this is all going to be on YouTube, so don't worry too much about it. I've actually been going a little bit too much, talking about all this stuff, going a little bit long. Just to talk about tactical bookmarks and safe spot bookmarks and all these things. The first one is safe spot bookmarks. I'm just going down this. Basically, oh, Control B. That's the one I was supposed to do. Yeah, this one doesn't have it, like GE Soda would. A safe spot bookmarks is when we were warping from the fortress, the Keepstar, to the gate here. What happens is if you want to, in between two spots, and I wouldn't use the gate, I'd use like a random moon, is when you're warping midway through there, just press Control B, or in your little place and locations, do add location, and you will have a location in the middle of the solar system that the enemy doesn't know. And they're going to have to use probe scanners and directional D-scans to find you. And that makes it so much more difficult. And if they put up any of the interdiction bubbles that will stop you from warping, that also makes it real difficult. Because if I'm going from this gate to the Keepstar, that's a straight line, and they'll set up a bubble midway through there, I'm sure of it. And that makes it very difficult. But if I, for instance, was, PCMAE. If, for instance, I'm at the TWJ gate, yeah, you can click right click to member. Just go to Fleet Finder and just click my name and just click, under there, warp to member. Yeah, that's all you gotta do. If, for instance, because they don't have it, because we have moved all this stuff here, so we don't have the overlays and the text, we'll have bookmarks set up over the overlay, and you'll be able to warp to it, and they will be about 200 kilometers, because I think it's right under that 200, which is where you can warp again. About 200 kilometers is where you can warp to the players again, or another area again. So what you do is you set up a bookmark far away from the gate or wherever place that you want to. So for right now, just double click and move away from the gate, just anywhere you want to, any direction. So at this point, it's just, this is part of the whole fleet mechanics and everything. So at this point, I just say, scatter, everybody scatter. At this point, just keep the gate selected and see how far the distance are you away from it. When you reach 200 kilometers, put down a place, a location. And that's a good place to say, hey, I'll warp down from there. I'm this distance away. And that's where to warp in safe. Because you can say, I think the gate's bubbled, I don't know. No one else is around me. I'm stuck in someplace in Impass. There's like me and some other guy, and he's AFK in the station. Then being down in someplace inside there, super simple. I'll warp to there. I'm not on the gate, not on it directly. If there's no one there, I've got just 200 kilometers. I can warp down to the gate and jump through it. And then all of a sudden, I've got a safe spot. The next part is the tactical perch bookmark, which I was just saying. Usually these are located in the major systems. For instance, GE, they've got it in every single gate. Pretty much everywhere inside of Catch, they have those tactical bookmarks, because Catch is the system where people fight. Just plain and simple. They go there, they fight, they have fun. Alrighty. And you guys can keep flying for this bit. Just make sure you're flying away from the gate. I of course will not make it in time before we end this because I'm flying a big fat ship, but you keep flying there and make sure you're 200 kilometers or something like 250 kilometers away from the gate, and then drop down a bookmark, and all of a sudden you have a tactical bookmark for this gate so that you can warp to that bookmark, and if there's a bubble up, you won't get stuck in the bubble, and you can warp back. Or if there is no bubble, there is no neutrals, there's no enemies around here, nobody that wants to ruin your day and your life and, try to marry your sister or something like that, then you don't have to worry about it. You just go through the gate, and it's a quick jump, quick work, and a quick jump. So that's the benefit there. All right, any questions?
Can you brief about the bubble?
Alrighty, there's tackling and there's bubbles. And then I say this is because there are warp inhibitors. I believe that's the technical term for it, but there's two ways to do it. When a player is doing PvP and they're trying to ruin your day, because why not? They just want to ruin their day. They will come at you. If, for instance, I have a drone boat, and all my ship is good for is attacking NPCs. Now, yes, this size ship that I do have is pretty good against fairly small size ships, but if they've got something speedy, like this Atron that's circling around me, then that Atron very well could hurt me. It could kill me even, if it's got the right equipment, if it's moving quick enough. Even if I have, for instance, my drones out, it can do that. But the thing that can hurt it the most is that Atron can tackle me, and that can stop me from warping off. The bubble is there's warp inhibitor bubble, and except for interceptors, I believe that's the one, they can warp through bubbles. All other ships cannot warp through bubbles. And what happens is you will warp to it, and there's a literal bubble, it's a sphere, around either the ship that's generating the bubble, or they'll have a device, I forgot what it was called exactly, it's kind of like a mobile tractor unit or whatever, that they set up, and it's projecting it like 15 kilometers off from that space. And the one thing that makes that horrible is if you're trying to get to the gate and you're like me who can only move at 174 meters a second, I get stuck in that bubble. I've got to go around, and I'm going to be stuck in that bubble for at least a couple minutes, and that's just going to ruin my day, because if there's 3 or 4 of these little Atrons, I'm for sure dead, unless I somehow can mysteriously have a micro warp unit or something inside there. Even then, they won't work inside of a bubble. I'm boned, and they'll come in there, they'll bubble up a gate so that I can't warp off of it, or something that's even worse is I warp from another place. So if let's say we went through TWJ, we go on the other side of TWJ gate, there's a couple neutrals, and we may not see them, but this is very important for your local chat. There may be 3 neutrals inside the chat window, but I don't see anybody. I can do a quick D-scan, and I'll say like, oh, they're cloaked, and they're around this gate. Unless I'm flying something small like this Atron, my warp time, even lining up and looking, it's directly in front of me, I don't have to change directions, is going to be 8 seconds. That's more than enough time for them to tackle, put up a bubble, and just ruin my day. Even if they don't directly tackle me and warp stop me, once they've got that bubble up, I can't jump anywhere. I can't attack the warp inhibitor quick enough, and it's just a way to stop me and for them to attack. They may lose their little Atron, but they're going to blow me up and cause me to lose millions of ISK, easy, tens of millions. So that's what the bubble is. Any other questions? Sorry, was that good, or?
Yeah, thanks.
Alrighty.
Thank you, it makes sense.
Okay, the next one is the directional scanner. D-scan, as it's often called. A D-scan is pop-up if you're actually where I'm at right now. But it doesn't matter. Go over to scanners, and it will say directional scanner, or you can just do Alt-D. That's the default hotkey. The directional scanner is a way in which you can scan, just kind of like radar, around your ship. For instance, I think the the normal way, the default is 1 AU with 360 degrees. And it's the way that you're looking. So if I change the angle down to, let's say, 60 degrees, it's going to be pointing at a certain way. And that little thing right there is an Aries that I'm looking at. Yeah, that's something that could ruin my day. It says the gate, and it's the asteroid field. And that's what's closest to me. If I lower it down further, 15 degrees, which is just directly in front of my nose, to 5 degrees, which is really right in front of me. And that's a good way for me to look at something like an asteroid field that I think someone's hiding there. They're cloaked up, and they can't hide from that. So they can say, oh, they've got there. Or I could say that there's a device there that's causing a bubble, and I don't have to fly out there. It also has the range, will go all the way up to 14.3 AU, and that's pretty far. That's, depending on the solar system, about half the size of a solar system. And boom, do it up to 360, and I've scanned pretty much every single object inside here. That will give me all the ships, that will give me all of the stations, all of the probes, all of the drones. It tells me everyone's here. It doesn't, now when I've done this 360, it doesn't tell me where they're at. That's why you have to change the angle and whatnot. There are tons and tons and tons. Hold on, let me click this out. Probably just scared all those Rorqual pirates, too bad. Not pirates, pilots. But that's a good way to look for people and to see if someone's around. There's lots of tutorials for them, and it is tricky. It is a skill. By far, it is definitely a skill. And that's just something that you can use. You don't have to make sure that people aren't trying to kill you or ambush you. Any questions about D-Scan? Nope. Okay. Oh, good. Goodness. We got a little bit more. Okay.
Actually, too many questions. I have no idea where to start.
Yeah. You have questions, you said?
Yeah, too many.
Go ahead and ask. I mean, this is for you guys. We can shorten it down towards YouTube later, or you can wait and I can finish this up real quick and you can ask those questions at the end. It's up to you.
So it's basically in the front of the ship. So if I want to scan behind me, I need to physically move my ship to that direction.
Yeah, it's got a cone kind of scanner. So if you do down to 5 degrees, you just have a teeny tiny cone that's spreading out from you.
It's actually not about where your ship is pointing, it's just about where your camera is pointing. So if you just rotate your camera, the cone moves around too.
Yeah, it's its own little thing there, and I usually have it attached to where my ship's pointing. Oh my gosh, it is such a pain. That's how bad I am with D-Scan. I don't use it much. But if you want to do just the quick and simple way, if you use the 360, that's something that you can use that if you're close enough to it or you're close enough to their orbital body. For instance, I say, I'll pull this up here real quick. Ooh, hold on. And I'll say, oh, I'm at this gate, but I think someone's at the moon, which is actually the opposite. You would usually jump to the moon because nobody goes to moons, but they say next door to it is an asteroid cluster. And at that asteroid, there may be some guys that I want to shoot at. Then I would go to that asteroid cluster, click the 360, lower my AU to something like 2 or 3 so it's just within that space of that moon and that asteroid cluster, or I can move the camera there. And all of a sudden, boom, those people will pop up on the D-Scan after I scan it, and it will let me know. Whether they're cloaked or not, doesn't matter, they will come up there. So it's there. Again, there's a lot of tutorials about it, and it's tricky to get used to it because, of course, that's just the way the user interface is. Any other questions?
I don't think you said this, but if you click on something in the overview and you hit V, it will actually focus in that direction, and then you can change your D-Scan to actually focus in on that specific item.
That is true. You are absolutely right. Yeah, and again, I'm giving a quick intro to D-Scan. I wish I could give you a much better explanation to you guys, but the thing is, the D-Scan means that they can find you if you're hidden. They can find you where you're at in the system if they don't know, and you can find them. It's really, really good for PvP combat. Other than that, it doesn't have much use. Well, PvP combat and scrap. You can also find scrap materials and that somebody left behind when they blew up somebody else's ship, so PvP related. Any other question? Alrighty, there's a couple more things about bubbles, or not bubbles, timers. We just talked about bubbles. Timers are super simple things. You attack somebody, you've got a timer, you can't clock out. You get attacked by an NPC, you've got a timer, you can't just leave. Timers are all about whether or not you've been attacked, you're attacking somebody else, so on and so forth. The biggest timer is that when you attack a player, you do PvP, you can't use anything to get away. You can't go away from a gate. If they're attacking you, yeah, I can warp off. I can go to the gate and escape. If they're attacking you, it's a little bit harder. If I believe they can't go through those gates. So that's something that you need to look up. EVE University and our own pages will give you the exact same ideas, but there's timers for literally everything. I used a jump bridge. Well, now you're going to have a slower jump, and that's part of the jump fatigue, or the jump down time. Or I attack somebody. Oh, you've got a hostile timer on you. You've got to wait 5 or 15 minutes before you can clock out, or you can't just, oh, I had to disconnect so it won't emergency jump you somewhere. It's going to run down the timer. These are all things you want to know for PvP, and also for when you're doing some ratings. For instance, you attack an NPC, and you're going to have that thing on you, and you just can't save your ship. We talked about bubbles, which was, again, warp disruption fields. I knew it was something different. Warp disruption fields. They're bubbles. They're spheres. They ruin your day. There's a whole guide on them right there, but all you have to do is use those tactical bookmarks. Make sure you're at least 250 kilometers away from wherever you're trying to get to, away from that station, away from that gate. You should be safe. If someone's there, and then you didn't descan them, and someone's there, you can just jump away. Even I, in my 8-second turn around to jump somewhere, I can still get away from them. So don't worry too much about it. And I think that's it. The only thing else that I have on here is talking about escaping gate camps, and I touched on that briefly. If someone's camping on that gate, they're cloaked up, use that descan and then run right back into the gate again so you can escape. Or if you're in a ship, the quickest one is if you're already been potted, when you're still cloaked up from jumping through the system gate, then just select wherever you're going and click jump or dock wherever, and you should jump within less than 2 seconds. I think the pods are 0.7 seconds or something like that, and the shuttle, which is also one way to traverse across the map, is 2.2 seconds, and they're super fast, easy way to get around. And looking at the rest of that, that is it. I believe I have checked over everything. Do you guys have any other questions for me?
Pods aren't invulnerable to warp disruption, right?
No.
Nope. No. Interceptors are, which is a ship that costs a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to get up to training, and those are the warp disruption fields, the bubbles. They don't affect those. Other than those, and of course the Black Ops version of them. Other than those, any ship and all ships are affected by it. And what makes bubbles especially so dangerous is if I'm tackled, that being someone has a thing that says warp disruption and they've selected me from their little module on their ship, that's just mean it's one strength. So if I'm in a Venture, which is a mining ship, it has built-in strength of, I believe, 3 for warp field. So they have to use more than 2. They have to use 3 tackles, 3 warp disruption fields to stop me from warping off. A bubble has an infinite level, which means it doesn't matter if I have a reinforced warp core stabilizer on here, I can't jump off unless I have an interceptor. That's the only thing that's going to keep me safe. Any other questions?
So what's next? How do we go and earn ETH?
Maybe mention the standing fleets too, just for general stuff doing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot to ask. Before I end this recording, and this is just going to be the last part, I'm going to make a separate recording. So I'll end this right here. I hope everybody enjoyed this. I'm going to stop recording and start recording again because I'm going to take a quick break. Boo, 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 boo.